Today we will address two stories from Algeria's honorable history, both of which took place with the United States of America. The first story goes back to the 18th century and is mentioned on page 215 of this book that you will find its link at the bottom. After announcing the establishment of the United States of America in 1776, it found that trade in the Mediterranean by Algerians, as it found at that time that all European countries paid tribute to Algeria, decided to follow the Europeans' example by courting Algeria to ensure its freedom of movement in the Mediterranean Sea, which was its training every year. In 1800, however, America wanted to show its power over Algeria and decided to send a tribute by the largest ship ever made at the time, which was named after President George Washington of the United States. And this ship has been exactly the same since 1799 that resolved a war between the French and the Americans. Once she arrived, she tipped the scales for the benefit of America. The United States Congress decided to send the annual tribute to Algeria. And like they're telling Algerians, this is the last year we pay you tribute. We are not France, Britain or Spain, as they decided that the commander of this ship would be military, not civilian, and found no better than the officer. William Bainbridge. The ship was launched from the United States on August 8, 1800. Algeria had previously told them that it did not support the tribute in cash this year but rather wanted it a load of luxury wood to develop its navy. When the American vessel arrived in Algeria and dropped its cargo, it had attracted the attention of all the inhabitants of the region and was anchored on the port of Algeria, where it was a full-length vessel. It has many floors, and it has the highest marquee seen by Algerians. And when de Perso heard this giant vessel in the port of Algiers, he decided to go down to see her and found the sailors and all the people in the capital are surprised to see her and impressed. I'm afraid of two things. The first is that his sailors and his people shake their self-esteem. He feared that the Americans would admire themselves and that when they returned, they would recall that Algerians had never seen such a ship before, encouraging them to dare Algeria and the Mediterranean Sea. Day immediately returned to his office and called the commander of the United States ship and asked him about his destination after dropping his cargo at the port of Algiers. The commander of the ship replied that he was going back to America. No, I have a messenger with a message for the Ottoman Sultan in Istanbul. I want you to get him to Turkey and then complete your way back to your country, and now you have to go to your ship and drop your country flag and fly the Algerian flag. The commander of the ship, because he is a seasoned military commander who categorically rejected this, but the Dey answered with confidence, either to execute what I say or to detain you, your ship and your escorts, and why some Dey buyers have tried to make it clear that Dey's actions are contrary to the laws of peace and the tribute signed with America, and he replied that he was willing to break all the laws and I did not see defeatism in the eyes of Algerians and their fascination with the power of the prophets. The commander of the American ship, in the face of a serious and outright threat, returned to his ship and lowered the American flag from the giant marquee of the George Washington ship and raised the Algerian flag, especially because the Algerian Dey allowed him to drop the Algerian flag immediately after the disappearance of Algerians. And he carried the Algerian missionary to Turkey in all the anger and humiliation and insult. When he arrived in Turkey, the same thing happened. Everyone in Constantinople admired the American ship, George Washington. And the American leader told the Turkish minister what happened to him in Algeria, let him mediate with the Ottoman Sultan to give him correspondence that mediates with his Algerian allies so that they will never again be subjected to such insult in the Mediterranean. This is the story as in history, and now if we want to do a simple analysis of the incident, is Algerian Dey right or is it injustice and aggression? Here we remember the story of our master Omar bin al-Khattab at the opening of Jerusalem when he arrived at the Holy Land on his bear, which was holding her own, in his shabby and humble dress. He passed a large procession of a man dressed lavishly on a luxurious feathered wagon surrounded by slaves on each side. As king of earth, he asked our master Omar, "What is this planet?" They told him that he was Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, who was appointed by Wala Ali al-Sham and al-Quds. Omar called him and said to him, and he is scratching, Muawiyah, what is this luxury and pride and decoration? He replied, You, the Prince of the Faithful, live among the messengers of Allah in the city and all of them are Muslims and know you and know your worth, but I live in a gap between the Roma and the Muslims, and the Romans have many eyes on Damascus and Palestine that convey our news to them. They are people who do not humble the kings. They dare us. If their informants told them that the parade of the sham Muslims as I saw, their fear increased, and their psychology was defeated. This is true of the day incident and the landing of the flag with the ship, but within the psychological war in particular, it does not involve an assault on lives or a theft of property. The second story, if we want to give it a title, will be, Algeria is the only Muslim country that has forced America into the Hijri account, and you will find the sources below as well. In July 1818, a major dispute occurred between Algeria and the United States of America, caused by the number of days of the year. The story started when the Americans sent the annual tribute to Algeria, and that year the Dey had ordered the tribute to send raw powder bags. The American ship arrived packed with gunpowder, and the workers started dropping off their cargo, but when the minister lost the statistics and cargo documents, he found it worth $15,000. The minister summoned the ship's commander and asked him how many days a year. He replied 365 days. The minister said, No, the year is 354 days, but our calculation depends on the moon, other than your calculation that depends on the sun, which is 9 days late, and the cargo should have been worth $27,000. When Al-Dey heard about the controversy, he ordered the commander of the American ship to return his ship and what he was carrying and to pay the tribute in cash $27,000. That is, the order and the deal were cancelled, and the commander of the ship staying in Algeria had to up to July 25 to collect the sum from the European merchants and consuls of his allies. When the money was paid and they were gone, Al-Dey told him, Don't go until you take with you the American ambassador and all the Americans in Algeria and their families, and tell your boss that all the peace treaties between us are cancelled. But America soon sent gifts and promised to double the tribute by 25%. Al-Dey also required that the tribute be paid by year of immigration, up 9 days from the solar year for the 18 years in which the United States paid the tribute to Algeria, and the amount it provided was $376,000, which was only 200 years